Have you ever felt like your family's love just wasn't enough? What if, no matter how much you gave, it was never appreciated? Ashley has always lived in the shadow of her stunning sister Brittany, receiving little affection from their parents. Overlooked and unfairly blamed for everything, Ashley worked hard to make a living, sending money home in hopes of gaining approval. But when her parents started comparing her contributions to Brittany's, accusing her of being selfish, Ashley realized she was being manipulated. After years of feeling like an outsider, Ashley decides to stand up for herself, facing the painful truth about her family and her own worth. Was my family joking? I couldn't believe the small amount they were mentioning. Just the other day, my phone had been buzzing nonstop with calls from my parents. When I finally answered, they started shouting before I could even get a word in. At first, I couldn't make sense of what my dad was saying, leaving me completely confused. Later, I realized they were furious about the money they claimed I was supposed to be sending. They said my sister, Brittany, was sending them $112,000 a month, while they accused me of sending them only 80 cents. But that wasn't true. I had been sending them $112,000 every month just like Brittany. You must be lying, they insisted. Brittany, with her modeling career, makes more than you. She sends us $112,000 every month. We are so disappointed in you. Brittany is so thoughtful, my father grumbled, clearly upset. My mom added to the criticism, complaining about my lifestyle. Do you think it's okay to just live on your own, spending all your money? Why can't you be more like your sister? She cares about us so much, she sighed heavily. I've always known that they favored Brittany. She was beautiful, stunning, really, and turned heads wherever she went. Meanwhile, I was often ignored, overlooked, and compared to her. People would praise her beauty, joking about how plain I looked next to her. From a young age, it was clear to everyone that Brittany was destined for success, whether in acting or modeling. My parents lavished attention on her, always making sure she had the latest clothes and enrolled her in any class she wanted. On the other hand, I made do with hand-me-downs and didn't get the chance to pursue any extracurricular activities. Brittany grew up spoiled, entitled, believing that whatever was mine was also hers. She'd take my things without asking, and whenever I protested, my parents would tell me, "Let it go, Ashley, she's younger, be a good older sister." They dismissed my feelings so easily, always taking her side. Over the years, this favoritism only deepened. In elementary school, when Brittany decided she wanted my room, my parents didn't hesitate to move me. They displaced me to the living room, claiming I didn't have many belongings and that there was enough space for me to sleep there. The living room, where I slept among old family portraits, became my new bedroom. Feeling completely overlooked and undervalued, I decided to stop sending money home. I thought it was time to make a point. I'm Ashley, a 31-year-old working at a food processing company, living with the weight of being the less favored child, while my stunning sister, Brittany, 6 years my junior, enjoyed all the limelight and affection that I never received from our parents. Despite the cold treatment and the harsh comparisons, I carried on, holding on to the memory of my grandparents who had always cherished me. Growing up, my name, Ashley, was chosen by my grandfather during the vibrant spring season, when Ashleys were blooming. He loved those flowers for their resilience. As a child, I would sit on his lap, surrounded by his warmth, listening to his comforting words. Ashley, no matter how tough things get, you can always push through. After the hardships, happiness will bloom again, just like Ashley's in spring. Those words from my grandfather stayed with me, especially during the hardest times. As I grew older, it became evident that my parents treated me and my sister Brittany very differently. I never really felt at home in my own house. When I expressed my dream of becoming a school nurse and wanted to discuss university entrance exams, my parents immediately dismissed the idea. "We can't afford university fees for you. Think about your sister Brittany. We need to save for her future," they insisted. Though financially we were an average family, not struggling by any means, my dreams were pushed aside to prioritize Brittany's aspirations. After high school, while Brittany went off to a prestigious university, I entered the workforce, landing a job at a small to medium-sized company, a few train stops away from her home. Eventually, I moved out and rented a small studio apartment near work. It was a relief to be on my own, away from the constant comparisons and favoritism at home. Brittany, meanwhile, flourished at university and was soon scouted by a talent agency during a shopping trip with friends. My parents were over the moon, constantly talking about her modeling career. One day, Brittany called me, her voice full of excitement and gratitude. "We owe everything to Mom and Dad," she said. "Let's start giving them $112,000 each month to show our appreciation." The amount shocked me. $112,000 was a lot of money, and while modeling might pay well, I was only making about $66,000 a month at my job. If I agreed, I'd have to cut my expenses drastically, and even then, I'd need to find extra income. Reluctantly, I decided to take on weekend work as a security guard at a construction site. The job paid well but was physically grueling. Summers were scorching and winters bitterly cold. Many times I thought about quitting. Despite the difficulties, I continued, driven by a mix of family loyalty and the desire to not feel lesser than my sister. Deep down, I clung to my grandfather's words, hoping that after these hard times, happiness would once again bloom for me, just like the Ashleys of spring. Despite the challenges of balancing a demanding job and certification studies with little sleep, my coworkers showed unexpected kindness. They often bought me drinks and food, realizing the effort I was putting in. I was doing everything I could to save money, cutting back on eating out and other unnecessary expenses, but reaching the monthly $112,000 I promised to send home was still a stretch. Determined to boost my income, I decided to earn a professional certification. I dedicated every spare moment to studying, the days blurring into a fast-paced mix of work and learning. In this hectic schedule, I missed several calls from my parents. When I finally had a moment to call them back, I was met with immediate anger. "You are horrible! What do you think of us?" my father yelled as soon as I answered, with my mother's voice echoing an agreement in the background. Confused, I asked, "What's wrong? Are you talking about the money I send?" I couldn't understand their anger. "Do you know how much Brittany is sending? $112,000. And you send just 80 cents? Are you mocking us?" my father accused. "That's impossible." "I am sending $112,000 monthly," I replied firmly, shocked by their claims. "Don't lie. Brittany earns more than you from her modeling, so she's the one sending us $112,000 each month. I'm really disappointed in you. Brittany is so smart," my father continued, his tone full of disappointment. My mother chimed in, criticizing my lifestyle and accusing me of not caring about the family as much as Brittany did. I was dumbfounded, overwhelmed by sadness, unable to find the right words. It hit me like a ton of bricks there had been a huge misunderstanding. Brittany had suggested we keep our contributions anonymous under the pseudonym Rainbow. At the time, I didn't realize that Brittany's stage name was Rain. It turned out that the transactions of 80 cents had been mistakenly recorded under my name, Ashley, while Brittany's $112,000 contributions were correctly credited to her. Before I could explain the mix-up, my parents made it clear they didn't want my mocking 80 cents. They hung up without a second thought. The anger and betrayal I felt toward Brittany were overwhelming. She had never clarified our arrangement, and now everything was spiraling out of control. Sleepless nights followed, my mind in turmoil, as I questioned whether I should continue sending money at all. I decided to seek advice from Tiffany, my high school friend who worked at a consulting firm. Tiffany had always been someone I could rely on for grounded, honest advice, and I knew she'd offer a fresh perspective. When I met her for lunch, she noticed the distress on my face immediately. "What happened?" she asked with concern. I opened up about the situation with my family, explaining the confusion about the money. After hearing me out, Tiffany paused before speaking thoughtfully. "Are your parents struggling financially? Aren't they in their 80s?" she asked. She seemed just as stunned by the $112,000 amount, and she mentioned, "It seems like they have debts." "It's money spent on us," I replied, explaining the nature of the contributions. Tiffany's perspective helped me see things more clearly. You say it's money spent on both of you, but you didn't even go to university, right? Isn't it mostly for Brittany? She was pointing out that my parents still had their own income, and that it seemed unlikely they'd suddenly need so much money. Your dad is still working too, right? There's no need for you to send $112,000 a month. It's unimaginable they suddenly need that much when they've been fine for so long. Her words hit home, and it dawned on me that maybe I should consider stopping the payments, especially since my parents thought my contribution was only 80 cents. Perhaps that was their way of telling me I didn't need to continue. You're too kind, Ashley. You shouldn't let yourself be pushed around like this, Tiffany said, her voice firm but comforting. Her advice really resonated with me, and I made up my mind not to let my family's pressure dictate my actions anymore. 3 months later, my phone rang incessantly one morning. It was Brittany, furious. Why haven't you been answering your phone all morning? And why did you stop sending money on your own? What were you thinking? She demanded, her voice dripping with frustration. I felt overwhelmed by her accusations. Life was already challenging enough, and the weight of her frustration felt like too much. But thanks to Tiffany, I had learned that Brittany's so-called financial contributions weren't really about helping our parents. Instead, they were more about maintaining her pride and keeping up with our parents' lavish lifestyle. Tiffany, who had discreetly gathered information, discovered that Brittany was constantly splurging on clothes and cosmetics, complaining to her friends, "My big sister is my source of funds, so I rely on her money." Lately I've been struggling because I don't have money for my sister. I might have to cut back on facials and cosmetics for a while. It was clear now that Brittany was using me, and I wasn't going to let her guilt-trip me into continuing to support a lifestyle that wasn't even necessary. I knew I had to set boundaries, no matter how hard it would be. It also came to light that my mother was indulging in luxury brands, and my father was not working but gambling. Supporting their wasteful lifestyles with my hard-earned money felt absurd. Do you think I don't know Dad isn't working, so my money isn't needed, right? I confronted them later. My parents approached me after the $112,000 monthly payments had stopped. They had finally talked to Brittany, who, through tears, admitted that she hadn't been making nearly as much as she claimed, and that she was a burden on her modeling agency. Despite her cute appearance, she lacked talent in singing or dancing, which hindered her success in the entertainment industry. Her modeling gigs were sporadic and low-paying, often for inexpensive online catalogs. The truth of her situation led to a sharp turn in my parents' attitudes. "We've been strict with Brittany. You don't worry and continue sending money as before," they said unapologetically, demanding the 3 months of payments I had withheld. Their audacity astounded me. They even added, "We've prepared for 3 months, so please deposit it when you can. You are reliable, after all." Their unrelenting greed prompted me to question them further about their financial status, something that had been nagging at me. I heard from Brittany that there was some debt. "Is that true?" I inquired, seeking clarity on the family's financial matters. "Debt? There's no way. We covered the tuition with your grandparents' inheritance," they responded dismissively. This conversation revealed the deep discrepancies between what I was led to believe and the reality of my family's financial and moral landscape. It became clear that I needed to make decisions based not just on familial obligation, but on a fair assessment of the actual needs and the truth behind the request for money. My father stated confidently that Brittany's claims about our parents having debt were simply untrue. "We just need a bit more for shopping," my mother added casually. Since they believed my father's salary was sufficient, it was evident that they were managing fine financially without needing any contribution from me. "Why doesn't Dad get a full-time job then?" I questioned, feeling increasingly frustrated with the situation. My father sharply retorted, "Is that how you speak to your own parents? I didn't raise a daughter to act like this." My mother echoed his sentiment. "We don't need a daughter like you if you're going to be like that." Then they threatened to use the savings that my grandfather had left specifically for me, saying, "We'll just use your grandfather's savings for you. You're no longer part of this family." They expressed their willingness to cut ties over this, which left me deeply shocked and hurt. After they left, I broke down, feeling utterly disposable and questioning my value to my own family. 3 months of silence passed before my doorbell unexpectedly rang. Standing there were my parents and Brittany. I hesitated but opened the door, puzzled by their worn and tired appearances, which contrasted sharply with my improved situation since they last saw me. I've been working hard, studying diligently to obtain a small business consultant certification, which significantly boosted my salary. Tiffany had helped me land a new job where I was now a team leader, enjoying a fulfilling work life and even considering moving closer to work to a better apartment. "What's with the luxury?" my parents and Brittany asked, almost accusingly, noticing my nicer clothes and healthier appearance. "Before you indulge in such luxuries, give us some money," they demanded, pleading for financial help as if entitled to it. They seemed desperate, yet unapologetic about their direct demands. Disgusted with their attitude, I confronted them with Dad's and Brittany's income. "You can live comfortably. What's really going on?" I challenged. Brittany, tears welling up, revealed her ongoing struggles in the modeling industry, which were far harsher than she had let on. She had been scouted by another agency and decided to invest a significant sum to join, believing it would kickstart her acting career. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a scam, and the agency vanished with their money, leaving no traces behind. At that moment, a representative from a consumer finance company appeared at my door, asking if I was related to my parents. They had traced my address and were following up on a debt. It turned out my family had borrowed a large sum of money, hoping Brittany's career would take off quickly. On top of that, Brittany had been spending lavishly at nightclubs to relieve stress, further sinking the family's finances. I was shocked by their recklessness and irresponsibility. When the agent asked if I was family, I responded firmly, "I don't know these people at all. I have nothing to do with them." It was a harsh response, but one that I needed to protect myself from the mess they'd created. This moment marked a definitive break not just emotionally, but legally from my family's destructive patterns. In the aftermath, my parents filed for bankruptcy. Their debts were wiped clean, but the price was steep. They had to sell our family home and move into a modest apartment. Despite everything, they managed to find jobs through a temp agency and were scraping by. Ironically, my father ended up working at the same construction site where I had previously worked part-time. On his first day, a coworker greeted him with, "It's the old man. Help me out here. There used to be a young lady here before, but she quit. She worked hard sending money to her parents." I'd love to see the faces of parents who'd make their daughter work here. My father's expression tightened as he heard the words. Meanwhile, Brittany's life continued to spiral. Having abandoned her modeling aspirations, she tried her hand at the nightlife scene. Her self-centered attitude didn't resonate with customers, and she was quickly dismissed from various clubs. Eventually, she ended up making a meager living from a small bar, her once glamorous image now faded. "A model? Who are you kidding? Look in the mirror," people mocked. The truth of her decline was stark and painful. As for me, I finally severed ties with my family, determined to focus on rebuilding my own life and moving forward. 6 years later, I found myself at Tiffany's wedding, held in a picturesque chapel overlooking the sea in Tampa, USA. The vast, endless blue seemed to mirror the endless possibilities before me. Tiffany, who had focused on her career, had fallen in love with a colleague, and now, here she was, beaming with pride beside her husband. During the reception, Tiffany leaned over to me, her radiant smile lighting up the room. "Ashley, you should also face your feelings. I achieve everything I want on my own and quickly discard what I don't need." Her husband jokingly added, "Don't throw me away, okay?" Their love and independence were inspiring. Tiffany's wedding wasn't just a celebration of love, it was a celebration of freedom, the freedom she had helped me find. I looked at her, filled with gratitude, and said, "Tiffany, be happy. I'm really grateful to you." As the evening unfolded, Tiffany introduced me to one of their friends, Ethan. He was tall, well-built, with a charming smile, and ran an architectural firm. "I wanted to introduce Ethan to you, Ashley. Your personalities are almost the same," Tiffany teased, sparking laughter among us. Ethan and I hit it off immediately. We shared a meal together, and as we talked and laughed, I felt a sense of excitement and hope. For the first time in a long while, I felt like something new was blooming inside me, much like the Ashleys my grandfather had always admired. Looking ahead, I knew I wanted to embrace both my career and love, living life to the fullest. I whispered quietly to myself, "Grandpa, please keep watching over me from above. I'll make sure to blossom fully." With that, a smile spread across my face as I looked toward the future, knowing that no matter what came my way, I was ready to take it on stronger and more determined than ever. Ashley's emotional journey has been long and painful, shaped by years of neglect and favoritism. Growing up in a household where her worth was measured against her sister Brittany's success, Ashley has been forced to carry the emotional burden of being constantly overlooked. The stark contrast in treatment from her parents praising Brittany while disregarding her created a deep sense of inferiority and resentment. Ashley's choice to stop sending money home is a pivotal moment in her psychological growth. It reflects her decision to reclaim control over her life and emotions, finally standing up for herself in the face of exploitation. The pressure Ashley felt to meet her parents' financial demands, despite her own struggles, led her to push herself to the limits, even taking on a physically demanding job as a security guard. This shows her deeply ingrained sense of duty and desire to prove her worth, not just to her family, but to herself. The realization that her family's financial demands were based on Brittany's exaggerated claims, coupled with Tiffany's advice, was the turning point. It illuminated the unhealthy dynamic and the exploitation Ashley had been enduring. Tiffany's support served as a catalyst for Ashley's decision to stop enabling her family's destructive behaviors. Ashley's confrontation with her family and the subsequent severing of ties marks a profound shift in her mindset. She stops seeking validation from her family and begins to prioritize her own well-being. This psychological transformation is essential for her healing. As Ashley moves forward, the support from her friends and the opportunity to embrace her career and new relationships, like with Ethan, symbolize the blossoming of Ashley's true self. Do you think Ashley's decision to stop supporting her family was the right one, considering the years of emotional neglect? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.